Hi, Tom.
Hello, Michael. Mr. Sport 101.
Welcome to Sport 101.
Thank you.
For those that don't know, who are you and what you're up to?
I am Tom. I'm a goalkeeper coach. I run Fortitude Hockey, which is essentially a specialist goalkeeper coaching agency, I guess. Runs both in the UK and in Belgium as well. I also do some coaching for GP Hockey on the side too. So that's me in a nutshell.
So obviously you mentioned Fortitude in there. What is it? When did it start? Just for those that don't know.
So the genesis of Fortitude was basically born out of my own decision to do something that I enjoyed doing, and I think it's really, really important that everybody's got a reason why they do something. And it took me a fair amount of time through my 20s to work out what that was, and I really just enjoy seeing improvement and growth and learning from the people around me. And I wanted to do something meaningful that isn't really part of the hockey landscape in the UK. So
because you didn't come whilst you were playing, you weren't coaching per se, were you? You were doing a very different world.
I was definitely in a very different world. I was selling houses. I prefer to say that rather than being an estate agent, because it has some negative connotations. But I was selling houses for about 4 or 5 years whilst playing hockey for majority of the time Wimbledon, played a little bit for Old Georgians and Loughborough University and Exeter University before that. Played England underage group stuff, 16s, 18s, 21s, a couple of what they basically called youth Olympic festivals out in Australia, part of the Olympic legacy they had after Sydney, and which was great fun. Although I wouldn't recommend playing hockey in 40 plus degrees in the middle of January in Sydney.
Women are up to at the moment.
Yeah. It's when you've got 10, 12 kilograms of kit on, that 40 degrees is a bit hotter. But I needed to do something else. Wanted to do something else, and I had quite a few conversations with my old coach Steve Bayer, who's now the head of Belgium Goalkeeping, who are obviously having great success with their teams, and certainly the goalkeepers at the moment as well. And we got talking, and we decided to set up Fortitude, which is, like I said before, specifically for goalkeepers within hockey, delivering within schools and clubs, one-on-one sessions, small group sessions, doing some coach education work, and just sort of expanding on knowledge and experience of goalkeeping within hockey. So we had a few conversations. We started, picking up the phone and talking to our friends in hockey that are either working in schools or clubs, and saying, is this something that you would like within your hockey programs? Straight away, yes. I'm like, right, okay. So we rolled the dice, and took the risk of going full time into hockey goalkeeper coaching, and I absolutely love it. When I go and meet somebody new, and they, what do you do? So, I'm an accountant, or I'm a lawyer, or whatever. What do you do? And I'm a hockey goalkeeper coach, and they're like,
okay,
niche.
Very niche.
And if I had a quid for every time someone said niche after I told them what I did, I'd be £2 richer. It's a really, really interesting existence, but it was basically born from the fact that I wanted to do something that I enjoyed doing, that I wanted to do. The word Fortitude was Steve's idea. Mm-hmm. Actually, Steve and his wife Becky, and it basically means courage and strength in the face of adversity. If you have, and that kind of that sort of expands with sort of all sorts of realms within hockey, but specifically goalkeeping, because at the end of the day, you're the last man standing. You get a lot of people that get a massive buzz out of just like, right, I'm the last man here, I've got to save the day, or could possibly be the hero, and you have to have a lot of resilience and a lot of mental fortitude, as well as physical fortitude, to be able to then withstand the pressure that goes with that as well. And you've got to enjoy it, you've got to lap it up, and it's a real exciting experience. So that's kind of where a bit of the word Fortitude and why we're called Fortitude comes from. So yeah, that's us in a nutshell. I mean, we run quite heavily in the UK and slightly different in Belgium because that's just club based. Because they don't have school programs over there. It's just go and play your hockey at your clubs, and where their structure's slightly different. And they're going great guns over in Belgium. And within the UK, we are trying our best to try and cover as many areas of the UK as possible. It's not always easy because geography of the country is despite relatively small, it's actually really spread out. So hockey as a whole, spread out over the whole of all of the country, north, south, east, west. And it's not always that easy to get to these places on a regular basis, but we're making it our big objective this year to cover as much of the UK as we possibly can as well, including Scotland, Wales, possibly Ireland too.
Nice.
And just trying to expand.
Is that an exclusive in there?
Yeah, maybe, but TBC. But watch out, Ireland, we're coming for you. No, it's just making sure that. Because we do get a lot of requests from people saying, can you come over? And we'll, as much as we can, that's the whole point, providing opportunity, providing access, and also trying to make it as affordable as possible as well. It's one of those things really that, if you get specialist training, it might cost you a little bit more. It's the only way we can operate as well, but at the same time, we make it as achievable as possible for people. So, so within the UK, we're tearing around motorways and at the speed limit, getting to schools, getting to clubs, getting to individuals, so that they can have some training with us. For the most part, we do pretty well getting to as many places in the south so far, but we will look to go into other places a bit further north that are crying out for some goalkeeper delivery. Definitely. But in a nutshell, it's great fun. I hope it lasts forever. The one thing I would say about it is that specialist goalkeeper coaching is something that will always and should always supplement your main hockey program, and that is the big thing that we're kind of trying to make sure that we don't take that out and make it a completely separate entity. It is like your strength and conditioning, like your psychology. It supplements and it's a big part of your training, because tactically you've got to look at the big picture. I say that we do a lot of isolated training with the goalkeepers. A lot of it's technical based, because they need to generate good behaviours, good habits, because the game's super quick. So without that, you might limit yourself a little bit. So it's just providing the opportunity for people to just expand their game, know what they're good at in goal, have a bit of fun. Really good exercise. I don't know whether we can swear on this pod or not. Probably not, actually. Probably our younger listeners.
Yeah, probably not at the moment.
I'll say flip instead. And
I've thought about that.
And so that's in a nutshell how it was born. A few shandies in a pub, talking to my old coach Steve Bayer, and we've it's grown sort of every year since we've done it for the last 5 years now, which feels like yesterday. Actually, we started working out. What's this logo look like? What should we call it?
I remember those days.
All those sorts of things are really, really good fun. And now I'm just looking at.
We must have been quite close in when we established.
It was 5-6 years ago now.
Yeah. So we 101's birthday is the 15th of Feb 2015.
Okay, well, we're more an April baby actually. Yeah. So not too far away.
Not too far.
I've been 2014, maybe 2014. Anyway,
we digress.
It feels like a long time ago, but it also feels like yesterday.
So you touched on training in terms of goalkeeper coaching being supplementary. What would you say your top tips for quick fire top tips for goalkeepers in their training environment to make them, one, develop, but two, make them enjoy training?
Yeah, really, really good question. Some really simple things that we can think about. One is there's actually only a certain amount of time that goalkeepers normally get on a hockey pitch. So you might have your 2 hours on one evening, 2 hours on another evening, and the rest of it, the pitch is taken up with other stuff. I would try as much as possible to make the most of those 2 hours, making sure you're getting kitted up in time to get going, making sure you've got a plan and speaking to your coach beforehand rather than just relying on them to give you everything you need. Because essentially you probably know a little bit more as a goalkeeper than the head coach might, and I'm speaking pretty generally here about what you need, what you want. it might be that, okay, can I have 10, 15, 20 minutes at the beginning of this session because I know that I would like to work on X, Y, and Z, but it'll probably just be X in 15 minutes. Just sticking to one thing that you can do and progress and build up. And those, if you do that every session, and it could be S&C based as well, because that is a massive part of goalkeeping. We need to be strong, fast, agile, robust. Whatever it is, whether it's the beginning or the end of a session, that doesn't necessarily disrupt from what your head coach wants to do. Add that in. How many training sessions do you do over the course of a season? How much will that add up? So you're just adding value as much as possible to that session and not wasting the time between. Hockey is a fast-paced game for an outfielder, right? So they'll need their rest. What also could you be doing within that rest time as well that you might not necessarily need it from a physical point of view? So that's one thing I would say.
So that specificity and just understanding what you want to get out of each session, number one. Number
two is you've got to let go of this sort of precious feeling of, if I let a goal in, I'm a failure. Or if I let a goal in, I've done something wrong.
Yeah.
So you've got to go in like you're still 8 years old and it's the first time you put kit on. All right. You'll experiment. You'll play around with things. You won't know the limits of what you can do, but you will go and explore them. Hopefully, keep doing that. Keep trying to find these little gains of being able to experiment with what you're doing. Should I go? Should I stay? Should I stay on my feet? Should I go to ground? How do I save that? What are these other people doing? Asking questions. Oh, okay, that went in. Why did that go in? Okay, I'm nothing too bad about it. It's training. It's pretty inconsequential. How do I save that next time? What happens with that is, one, it's a really good mindset to have because you'll try something else. Even if you don't know what it is, you can just try to work it out. Be creative. Do something different. I mean, one of the biggest things when I look at a goalkeeper, I'll either go that I haven't seen before. I usually either think they've got a lot of raw talent and they're just somehow keeping the ball out of the net, but it looks really ugly. Or they're highly technical. They've obviously been coached before, but actually, to an extent, that can limit you.
Yeah, because then they stay within their understanding. Okay, well, my coach has said X. I can only save the ball this way, and they don't think of it like a broader toolbox of like I've got all these skills. That's a part of it, but then like just keep adding to it and freestyling a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's very, very few times when I'm on pitch going, that's right and that's wrong. Like, why does that work for you? Like, there's some really individualized behaviours of a goalkeeper that work for them. Like, you get tall goalkeepers, short goalkeepers. They'll do stuff in different ways to solve the same problem. So you've got to kind of go with that and make sure they're doing that as best they can without. And if you see a limitation with it, then you go, okay, well, this might limit you if you do it that way. Should we try this way?
Yeah.
And see if you can do that for one. So it might be. I'll give you an example. We did a training session a few months ago where we were doing some smothering training. Now, smothering, for those that don't know what it is, in Belgium they'll call it blocking. But essentially, you're trying to go to ground whilst the player on the ball is about to approach the ball, hasn't quite got it yet, and it might be a 50-50, something like that, where you come in, you go to ground, trying to get your leg guard to the floor, okay, making this big object, and then as the ball's hit, your leg guard's literally right there on the ball on the floor, so you're basically on the ground, okay? And quite often, that's coached to go, if you're going left to right, you go on your right side, if you're going right to left, you go on your left side, okay? Let's say that's conventional. Not necessarily right or wrong, depending on what you see in front of you. There's lots of different factors. So we had to play around with going, right, okay, what happens if you put you go feet first, okay, or you go the other way around. So if you're going right to left, you go on your right side, or if you're going left to right, you go on your left side. And we had a little play around of it, and it solved a different problem in a different way because certain things happened when you go down on one side. There's you leave a gap underneath you for a short period of time, but there are other things that help with that depending where you are on the pitch. Whereas if you go the other way, it actually covers that bit of ground that you might otherwise have let in under your elbow or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are lots of goalkeepers listening that go, yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
If you're not a goalkeeper, it might be a little bit difficult to understand this. I'm trying to paint as good a picture as I can, but it's the same as an outfield player just trying to use their backhand instead of their forehand to try and make a pass in a different direction. Does that work? How does it help you? Does it create another opportunity? Or even when you're tackling, are you positioning yourself in a different way where you're using reverse stick instead of your forehand in a similar situation? Then what problem does that solve?
Yeah,
because that's an example. Being experimental with your training, even when you're on your own, is really useful.
So then point three.
This is a good one. I see goalkeepers all the time that are very, very capable in their position, right? And they'll see it as a position that doesn't necessarily require much physical input. They can just kind of stand there and block. But I'm telling you now, right?
I know exactly where you're going.
I went from someone that played hockey every week, and you condition yourself to be able to jump, sprint, stop, explode into these shapes that look like splits and things like that.
Yeah.
I can't really do that anymore. I haven't played hockey for 3 or 4 years properly, and I definitely think if I did a couple of days training, I'd be a broken man. So you kind of condition yourself to this point, but you add in a strength conditioning program to what you do, and you talk to any international goalkeeper and talk to them about their strength conditioning. It's fundamental in terms of supplementing their training to be able to be strong. You have no idea how much force goes through your body when you just simply sprint. All right, and essentially this is what we're doing. We're sprinting, we're exploding, we're moving left and right, lots of hip mobility, lots of shoulder strength, and you have to be able to be robust in that. But also you've got to do it again and again in training. So you have this balance between strength and conditioning, which essentially is exactly what you need. You've got your strength and your speed and your conditioning. So are you conditioned enough to repeat these things in training? So are you getting that level of repetition within any S&C stuff you're doing? But also, have you got the strength to pull off these moves? Now, we coach a lot of young goalkeepers as well as adults and everyone else. But what I see quite a lot in adolescent goalkeepers, as soon as they hit the point where they've gained some strength, all right, just through their physical adolescent growth, is they can all of a sudden do some of the moves they couldn't do before. Right, and they haven't been to the gym lifting a load of weights or anything like that. They've just physically got into that state. And you see the change in what they can do. Now, that needs to continue, and there are S&C programs that go with it, and I wouldn't necessarily advise people just to go and start lifting a load of tin, because you need to be able to prepare yourself for that sort of stuff. But the ability to move appropriately with strength and speed comes from that. And if you think you need to add that into your game, then I would suggest you go and do that.
I think every goalkeeper, every outfielder, I think the way modern hockey is now, with quarters, with the speed of the ball, how good strikers are getting, everybody needs to be better conditioned than what they think they already are. I think that's just a given at this stage. I think everybody from even, 14s, 15s, 16s. I'm not saying 14-year-olds go hit the gym. That is not what I'm saying. Just to be crystal clear on that. I think at the same time, I mean, when I say go to the gym, I mean like lifting 100Ks, like not into that. Yeah. But I think just playing, I think there needs to be some conditioning stuff built in so that, one, you're more robust, you're not going to break down. I mean, we've both seen plenty of 15, 16, 17-year-olds who break down because they're picking up silly injuries because they're just not strong enough in areas which they need to be. Hamstrings, hip flexors, like.
We've gone past the point. The old school way of thinking about it is, all right, let's put the kid in goal that doesn't run up and down the pitch quite as fast as somebody else does, because that must obviously be the position for them. Now we've got to the point where actually we realise the value in a good goalkeeper. Like, if you look at some of the tournaments, or even the qualifying tournaments for Olympics, okay, if you don't have a good goalkeeper and they ship a couple of goals, all of a sudden you're not qualifying for an Olympic Games. And when we're talking about the top level, obviously.
So then let's go into that. Then let's go into like, what do you think then makes 2-3 things that make a world class goalkeeper? Like, what is that? You're talking about like how important it is to be a world class goalkeeper. Like, for those listening, like, what are the 2-3 things where you kind of hang your hat on and go, actually, these are the most important things?
I mean, it doesn't stray too far from what we should do in training, in a way. There are some non-negotiable things, like you've got to be fast and robust and strong. Yeah, from a physical point of view, there's not necessarily a strict DNA that goes with goalkeeping, but there's definitely something that you need. Either you're fantastically dynamic and athletic and agile, and you definitely need that. It doesn't necessarily need to be the quickest, but certainly that's going to be a sort of prerequisite for you to actually be any good in the first place.
Number 2,
to get to the top level. Number 2, mental resilience. Like, the psychology of goalkeeping is huge, and definitely something that we're digging more and more into. So you've got to have the ability to go, one, I've got players around me that I've trained with all the time, and I want to be better than them, but I've also got to get on with them. And you will always have that. You'll always have setbacks as well. Whether you're in any walk of life, you can have setbacks. Nothing's ever linear. So that mental resilience to go, right, am I going to do the extras? Have I actually thought through my process of the vision of what sort of goalkeeper I want to be as well? Am I just copying someone else, or actually being true to myself and doing what I think is going to be my strengths? And this is why, if I put myself in that group, this is what is going to make me stand out. This is what's going to make me get picked. So that, like, one goes with the other, and your mental resilience to actually get through that. Letting go, it could just be on a practical basis, letting a goal in. How good are you at recovering from that? Do you have a mechanism that helps you just go, right, okay, I'm going to learn from that and get on to the next one, give it in the middle of a game or training?
Yeah, and I think for me, it's really interesting you saying that, because I hadn't really put the two things together. If you can be more relaxed in training and you can enjoy all aspects of training, even if it is, I'm not saying enjoy letting a goal in, but it doesn't bother you, like it's like you just move on to the next thing, that will then translate into gameplay and big matches where you need to have that feeling of, okay, I'll put my kit on, I feel good when I put my kit on. And actually, if every time you put your kit on in training you're stressing about conceding a goal, when you put your kit on and you're a big game, you're never going to perform well. So actually that ability to almost chill out a little bit in training and be like, okay, cool. And this comes back to your experimental bit that you were talking about earlier. Like, if you're going to experiment with stuff, you need to have that ability to be like, okay, well, I've let something in, I've not let something in, whatever, and then that moves on. And then when you go into the game, you're going to have that mindset of, okay, well, I enjoy being in kit, I'll do everything I can, I'm going to work really hard. If I concede a goal, then I can't stress about it because I've got another job to do. I've got to move on to the next bit and enjoy being ready to make that next stage.
Absolutely. And what does that body language of you if you let a goal in and you are negative about it, have effect on the rest of the team? And
we've seen goalies kicking off, smashing sticks, like helmets gone, kicking their defender.
And that happens a lot, and it's difficult because actually we find out that we're quite a passionate bunch of people. But
that for it.
Yeah. What is it? Why do you play in goal? That's like a massive question. Why did you play in goal?
Totally honest, I love the kit. And I came from being a football goalkeeper. Yeah. So, I mean, I like kit, I like equipment, and I was a football goalkeeper when I was 10 through 13, and then got into hockey and never looked back. So, and just love stopping other people scoring.
Everybody has their reason why, and I think everybody's slightly different as well. And I think that's a real crucial reason. Accessing why you do something, and then keeping that flame. Yeah. Like, one, you can work out what it is, but keeping that flame going as well. The third thing, so we've got the physical side of it, the mental resilience, and the third thing I would say, because getting on a pitch, being a goalkeeper, getting someone to hit a ball at you, okay, or doing whatever you need to isn't always that easy. You know, you've got this big bag to take with you. You might not be able to drive somewhere. You've got to hop on a train or a bus or whatever. Okay, all of a sudden it becomes a little harder. And like, these are all practical details, but can you do stuff at home? Can you do stuff in your backyard? Can you do stuff on the pitch where you don't need somebody else that is going to benefit you? So do the extras.
Yeah, and you look at someone like Maddie Hinch and her kind of
I think
social
you have to
media.
qualify the Maddie Hinch.
Yeah. Just in case there's like half a person out there that doesn't know who she is. You know, you look at her social media profile, and she's always doing extra stuff. Like, yeah, you can always see she's doing that extra bit in the gym. She's doing that extra bit of training, like whether it's with someone like Martin Driver, or like she's always out and about getting those extra yards outside of the program. And I think, you know, and Van Ash is probably exactly the same. You know, he's probably going out, you know, he's not just playing and training at his club and senior international. He is doing the extra bits. He's going down to the pitch when he gets a bit of extra time. Like, you have to go above and beyond. And I think...
Yeah, and I think in addition to that your experiences of hockey through your hockey journey have to be different, have to be... So I use Maddie as an example because I'm fortunate enough to train with her while she was at Loughborough, and I'm fortunate enough to do a bit of coaching with her pre-Rio and post-Rio as well. She has had coaches from university, pre-university, post-university, in the England setup and the GB setup as well, that are all different.
Yeah.
She's gone over to Holland and experienced a different way of potentially playing the game on a domestic level. All these different experiences add into like a bigger, more worldly picture of who you are and what you can do.
Yeah.
And I would say that if you can find some of those experiences, whether it's playing abroad for a season, adding that into your knowledge of the game and all the rest of it, that it's going to be so valuable, not just as a hockey player, as a person as well, because you've all got to develop through that as well. So I'm sure she'd say the same as well, but we've got to have those experiences and not necessarily just completely sort of bottle ourselves onto one side and go, right, I'm going to stay at this club the whole time, because actually we probably won't learn as much from that. We've got to give ourselves that sort of part of being uncomfortable again and again.
Yeah,
big time. Over a period of time. So yeah, those are the three things I would say.
Right, we've got last 2 minutes. So, one sentence. What's next in goalkeeping?
What's next? What, for Fortitude or just in general?
Goalkeeping in general. What's goalkeeper in 2028 going to look like?
Goalkeeping in 2028 is probably going to look a little faster. Like hockey, like we've got to respond to bits of the game, and I think hockey. This isn't one sentence, by the way.
No,
I'll make it as short as possible. Hockey's always getting faster. Rules are changing to make it safer. I don't think there's going to be a wild change in the next 10 years. I think the rules are kind of where they are at the moment are probably a pretty good place. I think hockey hopefully will stay on the Olympic stage for as long as possible, and I think it will stay where it is in terms of its 11v11 format and things like that. I'm a bit of a traditionalist, so I hope it kind of stays that way.
I think Hockey Fives is a totally different conversation, but I think, I'd like to think that 11s is going to be pretty safe and nailed on for the foreseeable.
But I definitely think the knowledge of how we integrate goalkeepers into training, into our squad training, will improve, and our understanding of how we use our technical and tactical sessions from specialist goalkeeper training will improve as well.
Okay. And then finally, for all those out there, where can they find more about Fortitude and what you guys are up to?
Oh, shameless plug time.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. So
10-second shameless plug.
You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, fortitudehockey.com on our website. You can email us. All the details are on our contact page on the website as well. All of our camps and sessions are on the website too. If you want to just message us or DM us on Instagram, that's probably the easiest way as well. So yeah, get in touch. Even if it's just a badgery question about hockey goalkeeping, we'll respond.
Perfect. Tom, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been great hearing about the world of goalkeeping and what you guys are up to. So
it's been a blast. No, thank you very much. Cheers, pal.
Cheers, buddy.